Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Sam and welcome if you are new. This week I am sharing 3 delicious and easy main dish recipes. So let's get to cooking. Alright guys, so we are going to start out with making a maple and cherry glazed ham. This is just one of the recipes that I kind of switch out for Christmas. I've got a few that I kind of rotate through, and this is so simple and easy, and it's very delicious. So we're going to start out with making the ham, and to this ham I'm going to add in just about a cup of broth. I've got chicken broth here, but you can definitely use like a vegetable broth. Now, if you're using a bigger ham, I would double this recipe. And if you are using one of those really gigantic hams, I would triple the recipe. So to this, I am going to add the packet of the spice mixture that come with the ham. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to because I really don't want to waste it. It's really good flavor. I'm just going to kind of drizzle this right on top. And it's going to melt down all over this, and it's going to give it a really good flavor. And plus, we're going to be basting this with a maple cherry glaze, so it's going to add even more flavor. So I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to add some aluminum foil. Okay, so I've got the foil on. I'm going to put this in the oven for about 20 minutes. If the bigger hams, you're going to do closer to an hour just to heat it through. But since this is a smaller ham, it's not going to take quite as long to heat through. So I'm just going to pop this in the oven for about 20 minutes. In the meantime, we'll make our glaze. Okay, so now we're going to make our glaze. To my pan here, I don't have it over a flame yet. I'm going to add all of the ingredients first. I've got about 1/4 cup of maple syrup, 1/4 cup of maraschino cherry juice, some pineapple juice, water, 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I've got some allspice. You're going to need about 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, salt, 2 star anise, and a cinnamon stick. And now we're just going to turn this over medium-low heat, and we're going to sit here and let this dissolve and thicken up for about 10 to 12 minutes. Alright guys, this has been sitting here simmering away for about 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and cut the heat off. It's thickened up pretty nicely. And I'm just going to set this to the side while the ham finishes up, and then we will start glazing this ham and letting it cook a little bit longer. But this right here, it smells so good. We have a lot of people in our family that don't like turkey, so I always cook a ham just so they don't feel left out and they can enjoy dinner as well. So we're going to set this to the side. We'll set it right here, and in about 3 minutes the ham will be ready to baste. I'll bring you back and we'll do that. Alright, so the ham has been cooking for about 20 minutes. I'm going to go in and baste this ham with a little bit of this liquid just to keep it from drying out. We don't want a dry ham. It's going to get down all into those little slices and just be delicious. Okay, now we're just going to take some of this glaze and glaze the top of this ham. You can use as much or as little as you want, and it's going to get all nice and sticky and delicious. But this is going to go back in the oven for another 15 minutes or so to cook that, to finish up cooking that ham. And then we'll bring it back out and baste it again with this delicious glaze. And it'll go right back in the oven. This small ham will take about 30 minutes or so to heat through. But like I said, if you have a bigger ham, it's going to take much, much longer to cook. And that looks good. I'm going to put the foil back on, pop this in the oven for another 15 minutes, bring it back out, and we'll glaze it again. Alright, so this has been cooking for 15 minutes. I'm going to baste it with this juice, and then I'm going to remove almost all of this juice. You can keep it and reduce it down for a gravy if you like. It's really, really good. So I'm just going to remove half of this because this glaze is going to make even more liquid later. I don't want to remove all of it because we don't want the ham to dry out, but I am going to remove a good majority of it. And we are going to baste this ham with this glaze. We're going to cover it again and put it in the oven and let it bake for about 5 to 6 minutes. All right, so let's take this foil off. And it looks delicious. I'm going to baste it with a little bit of this glaze that's on the bottom, just to keep it from drying out. Oh, this smells so good. I cannot wait. I've got some green beans over here simmering. And it is just a little chicken broth, some of the ham juices, just to bring those flavors together, some bacon grease, salt, pepper, seasonings of choice. Absolutely delicious. So we are going to baste this ham quite liberally with this glaze, because we're going to glaze it again right when it comes out of the oven, so that glaze is nice and gooey. And it's got a beautiful color to it. I can smell the maple and the cherry. It smells so good. All right, now this is going to go back in the oven just for a couple of minutes, just to set that glaze on top. Then we'll pull it out, glaze it again so that glaze is nice and sticky, and then this will be ready to serve. And here are the green beans. Like I said, I just added a little bit of the chicken broth, a little bit of that ham dripping in there, salt and pepper, a little bit of bacon grease. If you don't want to do bacon grease, like if you don't keep it in your refrigerator, you can chop up some bacon and cook it down, and then add everything to the pot, and then add whatever seasonings you like. So this is going to sit here and then just cook down and get all nice and delicious for about 20 to 30 minutes. And then we'll make us some boxed macaroni and cheese, because that's what my daughter requested. So yeah, we're going to let this go, let the ham finish up, and then dinner will be ready. So that has been in the oven for maybe 3-4 minutes. I'm going to baste it again with this delicious sauce, pan drippings. Okay, and I'm just going to baste the rest of this glaze onto this ham, and this is going to be good to go. All right, we're going to let the beans finish up. I'm going to put some foil on the top of this just to keep it warm. This should be done in just about 5 minutes or so, and then we will be ready to eat. All right, you guys, here is this delicious ham once I get it all plated up. And here's my plate. I just served it with a side of mac and cheese and green beans, but you can serve this however you want, especially at your holiday table. And it makes for great leftover sandwiches the next day. So yeah, this is absolutely delicious. All right, guys, so moving on to the next main dish, we're going to be making a cranberry glazed chicken. So I've got a 5-pound chicken here. You can also do this with turkey, but today we're just going to do a chicken, just in case you have a smaller family or if you don't want to do a turkey. This will work just fine. So I've got my chicken here, and I've went ahead and salted and peppered it, and I just let it hang out here for a little while, kind of draw out that moisture, so then the moisture kind of goes back into the chicken. It's just been sitting here for about 2 hours, and it's done its job. It's nice and ready to go. So I've got that in there, and I've got a 1/2 cup of chicken broth here, and I'm just going to add this into the bottom of the pan, and it's just going to create some moisture in the pan so the chicken doesn't dry out. I've got my oven preheated to 400 degrees. We're going to pop a lid on this, and we're going to roast this for 20 minutes. While this is roasting, we're going to go ahead and make our sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the oven. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make the sauce. I've got a blender here. You can also do this in a food processor. I'm just going to go ahead and add in all of my ingredients to make my glaze. I've got some orange juice, about 1 cup of orange juice. I've got some maple syrup, 1/4 cup. I've got a 1-inch piece of ginger that I just got kind of sliced because it's going to get blended into the sauce. And I've got 2 cloves of garlic. I just sliced it up. And I've got some ground sage here, and this is going to add that nostalgic flavor that we all love from turkey. And we're just going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of sage. You don't want to add too much of sage because this stuff right here is potent. You add too much of this and it will overpower everything. So just 1/2 teaspoon. I've got some cranberry sauce. You can make your own cranberry sauce if that's what you want to do. I'm just using canned because it's convenient, and I love cranberry sauce, so it really doesn't matter to me. And to this, I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and some pepper. And I'm going to pop the lid on this, and we're going to get this blending until it's smooth. Alright, so this is done. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the lid. And I went ahead and just washed out my measuring cups here because I want to half this between the two so I don't contaminate the sauce with the chicken. So I'm just going to pour half of it in each container here, so that way we don't contaminate anything. And everything is all good. So I'm just going to set these to the side, and we will baste the chicken with these later. I'm going to use one for basting raw chicken and one for when the chicken is completely done. Oh, this smells really good. Mixed with that sauce, this is going to be delicious. So this has been cooking for 20 minutes. I've got my sauce here, and all I want to do is baste this chicken with this delicious sauce. You can do as much or as little as you want because we're going to be basting this again. And just remember to keep whichever sauce that you're using separate from the other sauce, so that way you don't get the two confused. Now I'm doing this in a Dutch oven, but you can do this in whatever kind of situation you got going on, like a roasting pan, will work. Just covered up with a little bit of foil. Okay, so I'm going to set this over here so that way it's not anywhere near my other sauce, because I don't want to mix them up. So this is going to go back in the oven for another 20 minutes, and then we'll baste it again and put this back in the oven. All right, so this has been baking again, or roasting I should say, for another 20 minutes. And I'm just going to baste this again with this delicious cranberry glaze all over the top. And that skin is crisping up very nicely. Once I get this glazed, I'm going to put it back in the oven for another 20 minutes just to finish up cooking the chicken, for a total of an hour cook time. And then we will go from there with the second glaze and get that glaze put on and set to the chicken. It's going to be absolutely delicious. All right, so back in the oven she goes for another 20 minutes. Oh, that looks so good. It smells even better. So I've got my remaining baste here and a clean brush, and I'm just going to baste this chicken with the remaining bit of cranberry mixture. Make sure you get all of that chicken pretty well covered in that sauce. I can smell the orange juice and the cranberry from the sauce, and that chicken smells absolutely delicious. I cannot wait to eat this. Now that I've got it pretty much covered, I'm going to go ahead and just pour it all over the chicken. We're going to put this back in the oven until that chicken skin is nice and crispy and the chicken is cooked completely through. You can check the temperature of the chicken. It should read about 165 degrees in the thickest part of the chicken, which is between the leg and the thigh. So this is going to go back in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes depending, and then I'm going to take it out, check the temperature, and if it's done, we will make a gravy. Okay, so I'll remove the chicken. It is cooked completely through, and I just brought up this sauce to a boil. And I've got a mixture of cornstarch and water here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of this to the gravy, or to the sauce, to make a gravy. And you want to add just a little bit at a time so it thickens up and gets however thick you like. Okay, so this has thickened up nicely. I'm going to cut the heat off. I'm going to adjust the seasoning, pour this in a gravy boat, finish up my mashed potatoes, and then dinner will be ready in no time. All right, you guys, here is this delicious cranberry roasted chicken. Now, once you get that sauce blended up in the blender, you can put that in a saucepan and reduce it down for a thicker glaze. I just like to make a gravy with it, but you can do that however you want. And since it's a family dinner, I just put it on a serving plate. If it was for a holiday table, I'd zhuzh it up a little bit. Alright, you guys, here is my plate. I just had a little bit of your chicken breast. I served it with some homemade mashed potatoes, with some extra gravy, some roasted asparagus, and a little bit more of the cranberry sauce. I absolutely love cranberry sauce, and this meal was absolutely delicious. Alright, you guys, today I am excited to share this recipe with you guys. This is my recipe for apple pie spiced ribs. These are so good and so easy. So we're going to start out with mixing the dry ingredients first. Got some brown sugar here, about a half of a cup. It's packed brown sugar. Just going to loosen that up a bit. And then I've got some chili powder. I'm going to add that in there. Some sugar, apple pie spice, and in here I've got cayenne pepper, paprika, salt, pepper, and garlic. I'm going to add that in there, and I'm just going to mix this around, make sure everything is mixed together pretty well, and then I will grab my ribs. You can use any kind of ribs that you like or have on hand. Today I've got some baby back ribs that I had in the freezer that I need to use up, so that is what I'm using today. All right, so I'm going to set this stuff here aside because we're done with all of that. Okay, so I've got some neutral oil here. I'm just going to spray some of this over both sides of my ribs. And this is just going to help the spices stick. Now I'm just going to evenly distribute this spice mixture all over these ribs and kind of pat it into the ribs. I don't want to rub it into the ribs. I just want to pat it. Make sure they're all nice and evenly coated. I'm just going to flip these over and do the other side. Oh my gosh, I love the smell of apple pie spice. It smells so good. I'm just going to take some of this spice that fell down and kind of pat it onto the sides so the sides get a little bit of flavor. Now I'm going to keep the ribs like this where the bones are facing up, and then I'm just going to wash my hands, get all of this spice mixture off, and then we'll wrap these up. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of move these around a little bit so they're kind of this way on the pan, so I can wrap them up evenly. Now I'm just going to wrap them up where it's easy for me to get into, kind of tightly pack them in like that. And I've got my oven preheated to 325 degrees. I'm going to pop these in the oven. I'm going to cook these for about an hour and 30 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes, just until the meat is completely cooked through, it's tender, and it's falling off the bone. All right, you guys, so these ribs have been cooking for an hour and 45 minutes. I just took them out and removed the foil from over the ribs. And now I've just got some barbecue sauce here, and I'm going to spread this barbecue sauce all over these ribs on the one side. And I've got my oven preheating to 450 degrees, and that is going to help set this barbecue sauce on these ribs. I want to make sure I get the sides of the ribs as well. And these ribs smell absolutely delicious. The apple pie spice has perfumed this house, and it just smells so good. So these are pretty well basted in that barbecue sauce. I'm going to put these back in the oven for about 5 minutes or so, just to set that barbecue sauce. Then I'm going to take them out, flip them over, baste them again, put them back in the oven for another 5 minutes or so, and then these will be done. Oh my goodness, these things look so good. I cannot wait. I'm going to let these sit and cool down for about 5 minutes or so. I made some broccoli salad to go along with this, and I will show you my plate. Here is my plate. You guys, these are so good. If you are looking for a new recipe for your barbecue ribs, this one is a great recipe. It's so good and so easy to make. But I paired this with some broccoli salad. I just found a random one online and made that one because I had all of the ingredients. But this is my plate. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.